Welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs, episode 8. And we are actually doing our due diligence here. And, well, Sil is really the technological expert, let me just say, sort of thing. So she's managed to set this all up where we're actually doing this podcast remotely. So
yes.
For the first time, we're doing this. So I think it should sound pretty good from what we've done some testing and sounded pretty good. So, given the circumstances in the world, not very happy. So we're hoping to cheer you guys up a bit with this. I got my Diet Coke with lime. Everybody knows that me and Sil love our Diet Coke at the games. And I enjoy Tim's as well. But for today, I'm doing Diet Coke. And anyhow, we hope you're all safe and doing well as well with this isolation, quarantine. And obviously, there's not a lot to talk about hockey related too much, and we're going to try not to bore you guys because I think actually just checking Twitter this morning, I think a lot of the usual TSN, Sportsnet, and all the sports people are they're kind of running out of material, I think.
Yeah. So let's see if we could come up with some new material.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay. Hopefully, yeah. So let's just refresh everyone's memory for a bit. So tell them where we were at with the Leafs in the standings before this coronavirus all hit us in the world. Tell us.
Okay, so basically we ended up having played 70 games with 81 points. So that was good for third place in the Atlantic Division. Florida was just behind us. They still had a game in hand on us at that point. I did do a little looking at the time, I remember, because it seems so long ago, at different statistics for whether or not, we would be making the playoffs or what position we would end up in. As things ended, I think it was probably a much greater percentage than not that we would have finished third. There was a slight, like maybe 20% chance that Florida could have gotten ahead of us and we would end up in a wild card. But I think pretty much we're probably going to end up in third place and playing Tampa. So that's how things sort of wrapped up for us.
We won't get into it too much because obviously there's no games to be played for a little while now. So, but we wanted to refresh everybody's memory so that, because nobody's really talked about it from what I've heard as to like recently anyways, no one's really mentioned
where it's almost like
at.
It came to a screeching halt and then, and I don't know, it's such a weird feeling because it's so, I don't know, once they basically decide when things are going to come back, I wonder if all of a sudden, we're going to take that out of whatever compartment that has been shoved in for now in our brains, and then it'll get pulled out and then we'll have feelings on it again. But it just kind of feels like everything's just sort of is in some sort of holding pattern in the ether.
Yeah. And I guess one of the sad things is that Austin Matthews won't reach the 50-goal mark this season. Yeah. I mean, he will in future seasons, but because personally, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think there's going to be any regular season games. And even if there is, and he manages to get there, it's not really the same. Like, it's not going to have the same meaning or whatever as it would have been if everything was gone as planned. So we'll have to wait until next season for that again. But one thing we were just talking about this before we came on air here and about what Austin Matthews said. And I didn't hear this, but Elliot Friedman apparently had, I guess there was some player availability and Matthews was one of the players made available. And Elliot Friedman had a couple of questions for him and asked him if the team ever thought if they would not make the playoffs. And his quote, he basically said in sort of this manner anyways, from the way I caught it, it's, we don't play with fear in this dressing room and we never will. That to me brought chills to me. I was like, wow. I was like,
yeah.
now I want the hockey season back.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I find that quote very interesting, and I do think that that fits with them because, it's been a roller coaster season. But I honestly think the roller coaster was more on the fan side more than them, because I think that was some of the frustration that some of us fans maybe felt, is that they didn't seem to be, there was always that thing about the urgency, whereas I think that they have this belief that one way or another they're going to get it done, and it's going to, that they'll be okay because of this kind of feeling that they don't worry as much as we seem to worry. Like, they have this very strong self-belief. Anyway,
I guess
good to hear that they feel that way.
Yeah, I guess it's because too, I mean, we're long-serving Leaf fans, so we've been through a lot over the years, and these players are all new, though. I mean, they understand the way Leafs Nation is, and when we panic or our ups and downs and everything, they understand that, but they've never been through it really, like with us. That it's just these last 3 seasons. I
guess it makes me feel good to know that they're not internalizing it that way. The way that we all are. Yeah. So that's kind of a good thing, I guess.
So
anyway,
let's go on to where we think we'll be with this hockey season coming up. We'll basically give you the points of what the league has said in their most recent meeting from last Tuesday of the GM meetings. So
well, first off, I personally don't think that there will be any hockey this season. And I mean, like, if the question is, would I be okay with hockey in July or August? The answer to that question is, of course. I'll take it wherever I can get it, I guess.
I'm actually not to say that I'm optimistic, but just from the interviews that I've heard this week of like from Bill Daly and Brendan Shanahan, and who was the other person? There was another person. Oh, Donald Fear. They all said that not to say that for sure they're going to have a hockey, but they were just talking more on the positive and actually just saying that basically it's going to go into the summer, like by the sounds of it. So that really, when all 3 of those leading people in the NHL, like executives, basically say that, I don't know. For me, I believe it, and whether
I don't know.
I don't know. I actually think it's going to be in empty arenas, though. That's how I think.
To me, it's like. But that still to me doesn't make any sense, because first of all, like right now, you can't travel anywhere. And so how exactly are they going to get, players from, the States to Canada and vice versa? Like,
it's going to be in the summertime though, right?
I know, but think about how long that's going to take to open up the borders that way to travel, because travel is the biggest contributor to the spread. And the way things are in the States right now, I don't know. Like, it's not just up to the leagues like this. There's the governments also have to open up these borders for this
sure.
too.
Yeah.
And also players are scattered all over the world now because people went back to wherever they're from. And, so it's going to be a question of how long it's going to take for that to happen. Because think about this. I kind of right now, when I'm analyzing this kind of stuff, I look to how long it's taken from when things started in China to now when they're opening things up. And it's been 4 months. And so now they're alleviating some of the lockdowns, but they're still not opening borders. So that's going to be another month, say not till maybe the end of April, till they start to, have travel again. So to me, like it would make more sense to me for it to be August, September. So in that regard, like I kind of wonder, are they going to go right into playoffs, and, we've basically, the end of the season's done right now, and have some sort of short training camp and then go into like a playoff tournament and then start the next season late and have a shortened season. Like that's the only way I see it could really work. But to me, September is the start.
But then there's the other thing that they said that they don't want to. I think it was Bill Daly that said it, that NHL is like 100%. Well, basically, I think it was 100% against not having a complete season next year. So for me, when he said that, that means to me then we're done now, because you cannot have the full season next season. There's no way, and that's.
But then, do you think that are you saying regular season done, or like done as in not even any playoffs?
Yeah,
like this season is complete and no playoffs.
Yeah, like we're done. There's no
Stanley Cup this year.
Right. Yeah. That's how I picture.
To me, if they're talking like that, actually would make the most sense to me. Which is like, that's just so depressing to think about that.
Yeah. So I'm either one of two ways. Basically, it's if they can't do that complete season next season, like for next season, then they're done. Yeah. And then
that has to be, because there's no way that they could finish this season and then still have a full season next year. I just don't see that being able to happen.
Anyways, let's get into what they've said basically for the most recent update.
So some of the things that have happened already that they have postponed for sure are the draft, the combine, and the awards show. So it's interesting to think about how the lottery will work. And the other thing I actually thought of too is that, I was listening to the radio, and somebody was talking about how, with the trade deadline, they went ahead with that. People made trades, traded picks, all of that. And they're basically, and that was for a playoff push, and they're getting nothing for that now.
Yeah.
So you got to figure.
Kyle Dubas did well.
Yeah. But
maybe he knew something. I don't know.
I don't know. But that's kind of interesting that you got to figure, will there be some sort of compensation for teams that, kind of went all in that way or whatever. And the other part of it too is that, normally, teams are scouting players, they're going to the Memorial Cup and all of that stuff. They use the combine to kind of, check in on players' fitness and stuff. All of that is out. So they're going to have to really be relying on like video scouting to figure out, what's going to go on.
And it's too bad for the younger players too, because that's their entry into the NHL. I always look forward to watching the draft. Doesn't matter who's picking first. You always see the families all there, and they're all excited when their kid gets chosen, whatever round, right? And they're not going to have that opportunity this year.
I wonder if they could do it, distance, because I know that, for example, I think the NFL does it this way because there's just so many players that players actually they watch it unfold, but they're not actually there, and they have it like kind of video conferenced in, and they're with their families, and then they get told and da 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 da. So I kind of wonder if they may have to go to something like that instead.
Yeah. So anyways, those are postponed and it's a work in progress. And then
back to sort of what we were talking about before about, when hockey might start. So like the NHL has asked all the teams for arena home dates available in August. And they've also officially extended the quarantine till April 7th. And I mean, that could go longer, obviously. And we're still finding out, in recent days, a couple more players have tested positive. So while that keeps happening, these things are kind of going to be adjusted. But
so the quarantine is basically just because the teams are waiting, or the NHL is waiting, so that, because none of these players can actually work out, they can't work out even in like little mini groups or anything. So that's what they're saying with the quarantine.
I did hear actually what the Jays are doing this week is that they have small groups of less than 8 that are able to go and be at the facility at one time. But the thing is, they're in the States, right? So the rules potentially they're different there as well. But for our players, the NHL players, I mean, the rinks are closed and we don't have like a one team facility, unless it's the actual home rinks. So, or their practice facility. But this is the thing, is that until now that everybody's dispersed, players can't come back. So unless they're going to find a local place to be able to practice or train, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all up in the air.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they asked they've asked for the arena home dates for August, and we'll wait for more basically. And then another update, I guess, is similar to what I was saying before with Bill Daly, Donald Fear, Brendan Shanahan. They all basically gave the indication that we will have a Stanley Cup awarded this season for 2020.
Yeah, but then they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, because how could he say, if Bill Daly said that they don't want to have a shortened season next year, but then he's also saying, they're going to award a Stanley Cup this year. What the heck? Like, how does that work?
I didn't make sense of that either. Yeah. And then the other thing is actually another reason why I think they will have a season is because the projected loss is north of $1 billion is what I heard from TSN. I saw that if this season is canceled, as well as the playoffs, like if it's a total.
So,
and I can't picture Gary Bettman wanting to lose that much money. There's no way I can see him letting it go. And it's a health issue around the world. So like he's going to have to, if he has to, he has to, right? Like it's a lot of industries are going to be losing a lot.
Yeah.
It's not just sports, obviously.
No. And you kind of got to wonder too, one of the things that I thought of is, what's that going to mean for the cap now? Because they were projecting that it was going to go up. What will that do to the Leafs cap situation?
Yeah, we'll leave that for another show. I was looking at that too, and I'm like, what?
That's just like, wow, okay. That's the thing. I mean, our team's not the only team that's going to be, somewhat screwed by that, because there's a lot of cap teams in the league. But yeah,
and and we got to think of the Seattle expansion too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's coming up, right, with the new team. So anyhow, let's get on to some lighter stuff. So that's it for the, I guess, the hockey side update and the Leaf update of what there was with Austin Matthews' quote. That's about it. So now we're going to get into something a bit lighter and talk about how players around the league are interacting on social media. Tell the truth, most people that are probably listening to this know that I'm not a huge social media thing, but somehow I've got into Twitter and a little bit of Instagram. But anyhow, I'm hopefully you guys are following us too on Twitter and Instagram. The handle is LTL1917, and we had a cool I thought it was cool. Anyways, I posted the ticket from the Forum, from the game that we went to at the Forum Montreal.
Mm-hmm. Good times, good times.
Yes, good times. But going back to the social media thing, with the players and their interaction while they're on this quarantine, a lot of our Leaf players, we were talking about this with Sil before, too, like, they don't seem to be on there much, except for Hyman doing, Hyman and Marner doing
streams.
Yeah, which I have no idea what that is, but it's something to do with
video games.
Video games, yeah. And
that's because Hyman's a big time entrepreneur, and his gaming leagues and stuff. So
yeah, so he's been on there, and I guess Riley had his washing the hands bit there, and but nothing too exciting, anyways, right? Like from them. So we've decided we're going to pick our own, I guess, social media posts, which one that we liked or thought were kind of cool. I picked somebody from San Jose, actually, which was kind of weird. The guy is from Mark-Edward Vlasic. He's played on Team Canada. I don't know if you guys... He's a good defenseman. He's a solid defenseman. Wish we had him on our team, that's for sure.
He's getting a little bit older now, but...
Yes, yeah. But he's a stay-at-home guy, and he's behind the scenes, I guess, in San Jose there. They got Brent Burns, obviously, and Carlson, so Erik Karlsson. But yeah, no, he was on this sled. I don't know where the hell he was. It was some winter wonderland, that's for sure. This is like This is like right after the, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, anyways, like maybe right after the quarantine, and he's on this sled in a winter wonderland, and these dogs are like chasing him from behind. It just looked like a real serene place, sort of thing, right? And it looked like he was having fun on the sled.
No people around, so he was safely distanced.
Yes, yeah, he was already practicing the physical distancing. Yeah, and I also liked, although I have no idea what this TikTok thing is. I don't know. Do you know what this TikTok thing is?
Yes, yeah. It's just basically it's just little clips and stuff to music that it used to be called Musical.ly, and it was bought by I guess it was a Chinese company, and they renamed it TikTok, and so you can make these like quick little videos and stuff. And it has to do with, usually there's music with it. Mm-hmm.
Well, anyways, I actually liked a few days ago, Kevin Bieksa came out with his daughter on this TikTok thing. And I don't know, he was pretty grooving there on this TikTok video. And I thought it was pretty funny, actually, even though I find him annoying as a commentator.
I like him. I don't know why you don't like him. I think he's good.
I think it's because my nephew actually told me once that he looks like his face looks like a mouse or something. And now ever since
What?
Yes. He's like, look at his face. He told me this quite a while ago. Anyways, and then ever since then, I'm like, yeah, you're right. And he looks like a mouse. Like he's like a little, I don't know. Anyways, but I liked his Instagram TikTok thing or whatever. Yeah. So those were my two choices because the Leafs to me were all boring. Although I did like JT with the baby. The baby's so cute.
That was cute. I like and I like the letter that he wrote. It's nice.
Yes. Yeah.
And I liked Marner's little post of learning the downward dog from his puppy.
He can do better.
Yeah, that's true. He can do better.
Yeah, he can do better.
It was cute though, although I found his form was not that great for his downward dog. But anyway,
Who'd you pick?
Okay, so I actually. As we were preparing for this, I was scouring to find this one that I really liked, and it's Chris Mason from Nashville, and he was making fun of the fact that a lot of the NHL players are posting their at-home workouts, and he's basically saying why would anybody want to do that kind of thing, and he had this big long kind of serious quote about character and stuff. And then in the meantime, he goes outside to do his workout. And it's like a montage of him doing all these different things on his driveway. Like there's like a baseball cage and a basketball net and a hockey net and a little tricycle. And he's doing all of these things, but it's all fast forwarded and it's all set to like Survivor music from the 80s, like not the Eye of the Tiger, but another one. I think it's the song that they used in the Rocky IV. So it's like this workout montage. And of course, there's this thing that says, I had no idea this was being filmed. And anyways, it was really, really, really funny and really
look that
cute.
one up. I never saw
I really liked it. It was so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Did you anybody else or no?
Not really. I mean, I did tune into, because I guess I can't remember the lead singer's name from the Arkells, but he's been doing all these different videos with different people. And so he's been doing these live streams. A lot of different artists are doing live streams. So he's been doing them with different people. And he had Tessa Virtue and Morgan Riley on together one day. So I tuned into that and that was pretty good. It's kind of nice to see them like as a couple, like they look very comfortable and happy together. So that's nice. Yeah. That's one thing I'm super sad about in a way that, Morgan had just come back from injury. And I really felt like when he played that first game that was something we were so missing. And
he has a presence on the bench. Right?
Well, at presence period. I mean, he's the one, like I would say, other than maybe Zach Hyman doing his like entrepreneurial stuff or his community things, that Riley's the most visible for sure. Yeah. And so I kind of, I think that we were going to really put something together there.
Actually, I just thought of something, speaking of being visible, even though he's only been here, I don't know how many games, but I was happy to hear that about Kyle Clifford wanting to actually stay here, like, because obviously, I guess, like his contract is up this season, sort of thing. So he'd have to resign, and apparently both parties, even Shanahan said in his interviews or whatever, that the feeling is mutual, that the Leafs want to hopefully have him back whenever, like for next season onwards, because he's a presence too.
For sure. And actually, then, in speaking of Shanahan, I'm kind of glad that he's sort of, still, I guess part of his job is keeping the Leafs at the forefront of things in a way. So he's also been, out there and speaking, and there's some good information and good things that he talked about when he got interviewed this week. So
yeah,
it's just, I don't know. It's just so, I don't know. There's the word I'm looking for is it's just
up in the air. Everything is up in the air, and
it's limbo all around, and not in the fun dance way.
Yeah. So let's go on now. We've kind of created this new segment now. I came up with this title, Back in the Day, because that's all we're seeing on TV now. We're seeing all these old games, like from back in the 80s, or they haven't gone back to the 67 final yet. I'm waiting for that one again, but Leafs TV hasn't put that on yet. But so we're basically going to choose a game that I guess we have a connection to, or we remember. We're just going to talk about the connection we have with the team through that game and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I basically chose a game from the 80s because, I don't know, we should have a broad range of listeners out there, but the 80s is a time, an era where obviously not a lot of good things happened, but there were some good players and good teams and players that had personality in that. So my game, and we're going in April, this is just for the month of April. So thankfully it's playoff games. So they were more exciting, those games. It was April 16th, 1987. And John Brophy was the head coach of the Leafs back then. He was quite the character, but we won't get into that. And it was basically, we were in a 7-game playoff series with the St. Louis Blues, and we won. Yay!
That's actually, looking back, like I didn't even remember how many times we played St. Louis, like in various different playoff series. Like obviously we did because of Norris Division, but I hadn't really recalled that we played them so much in like pivotal series.
Yeah. So. And that's the thing though, back then, with the divisional, with the way the NHL was set up when it came to playing in the playoffs and the regular season, with the division, it was all divisional, basically, the playoffs games. So first place would play fourth place, second would play third, right? There's 5 teams. The 5th team didn't make it. That was Minnesota that year. I looked it up. But there was just a different, there were more rivalries back then, let's just say. And
I think that they're trying to recreate that somehow, but I don't really feel it with the way this bracket system is, especially when you've got like the best teams pitted against each other so early. Like I know they want it to be exciting, but I'm not really seeing that it creates the same rivalry in the same way.
Yeah. And so 1987, I actually read too, was the first time, because the first round series used to be a best of 5. And that was the first year that it actually went to best of 7. Right. And so that was interesting. We won the series. Brad Smith, that's basically what caught my eye when I saw this game, and I was watching like interviews of old players and stuff like that, was that Motor City Smitty. That was his was his nickname, right? And he scored the winning goal. And I
always liked him.
Yeah. And I remember as a younger kid then, like you had just hearing that Motor City Smitty, and he was always like cruising around the ice, and he just had flair in his game, and he was so excited to score that winning goal. He like when he celebrated, celebrated like end to end from one end to the other from the
you don't see that anymore.
No, you'll get killed basically if you do that. But yeah, and it was a different time back then, and Wendell was the I guess, in his second season, and that was the famous Hound line. We actually had a
Right, with Gary Lehman and Russ
yeah,
Cardinal.
yeah. So
Yeah, it was so good.
we had the Hound line going then. So they were the young guys just in their second season. And so they all played for the Notre Dame Hounds in Saskatchewan. That's why it's called the Hound line. Yeah, so that was cool. And yeah, and the fact that we won, obviously. And that was the first time that we won the playoff series since 1978 when Lanny McDonald won the series for us against the Islanders. So unfortunately, we are in currently it kind of matches because we're like 14 seasons now that we haven't won a playoff series.
Right. Yeah,
since
this
the
would have
last
been the
time.
one that we would have won one.
Yeah, most likely. But yeah, so
I
that's
still will believe that. And no one can dispute me. There will be no proof to dispute my statement.
So what was your game that you chose?
So I was looking. I mean, like obviously, because we were trying to pick a game that happened in April for this particular podcast. So some of my favorites were a little bit farther down the playoff road, but I ended up picking a game that's not that far in our past. I actually looked to the 2017 playoff run, which is the first time we've been in the playoffs for a long time. Well, not super long, but it's the first time we had made to playoffs with Babcock and with our young guys. And as I was looking back to this game, so the game I chose was game 2 versus the Washington Capitals, which happened on April 15th, 2017. And I was really blown away by the affection that I have for that team. There is just, I don't know, like I was watching that and I was like so missing, Bozak and JVR and Naz and Jake Gardner even. And the same time.
Yeah, they were the connection to the, like
they
were
the
good,
previous.
Yeah, and they were good leaders. Like they really had to go through bad times there, and they came through it and were helping these young guys, these newer guys out. And
then seeing, Austin and Willie and, Marner and Kapanen. The part of the reason I picked this game actually is because this was Kapanen's breakout. Basically, like he got to play he scored his first goal in the last game of the season, which got us to the playoffs in the first place. And then in this game, he scored 2 huge goals, including the overtime winner. And just looking at him, the intensity and the fire, I kind of just realized that towards the end of this season, I started seeing that same kind of look in him. And that's kind of the way he needs to play and to be really effective. And I don't know, it was just pretty fun to see and exciting to see this team and how it came together. And
and it's really kudos to Mike Babcock as well.
Yeah.
Again, sort of thing, right? Because
they weren't supposed to be there.
They weren't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be, like he said in his press conference, there's pain coming, and there was supposed to be pain a little bit longer than that, than going into their basically his second season as coach and actually making the playoffs. So
and that game was a double overtime game as well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. And I don't know, like I don't. There's something I do find that's not quite there yet with this team, the way it's kind of put together right now. Like there's something a little bit missing still, but anyways, I think it's gonna come together. But I think that was fun.
Shanahan, I think, actually said in one of the interviews, it's kind of still a work in progress.
Yeah, I do believe that because I feel that,
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that was good.
Yeah.
We could actually pick more games or everything and go ramble on, but I mean, we're going to leave it at that, I guess, for now, because who knows how much more material we'll have to talk about in the coming months.
Exactly. We got to save some of our good stuff.
Yeah, and this worked out pretty well with our remote podcasting. So
Yeah, so I'm
we'll be
hoping that
catching you.
everyone out there is keeping safe and keeping well and also keeping their distance. This is my part. I'm going to do a little bit of a public service announcement. Everybody stay inside. I kind of feel like, everybody's seeing so many numbers every day, and I kind of think that we should just try to mute that if you can in your brain and just everybody should just assume that they have it and could give it to somebody. So if you have that mindset and you keep that in mind that you could infect somebody and someone could end up having, an adverse outcome from that, then we'll all stay safe and get through this because we're in it together. So as everyone is saying, right?
Exactly.
So stay safe, stay healthy.
Yeah.
And go Leafs, go.